The gap between the 1% and 99% is massive. You see, it's not just money. You have to step back and look at the bigger picture.
So what do you do?
I'm in a very unique position where I've seen both ends of the spectrum. I've seen extreme poverty and I've seen extreme wealth. Now, I would say I grew up in a lower middle class background, but I go to school with some of the wealthiest people in the world. I can bump shoulders with Dana White's son, who does go to my school, and the next minute get off of my minimum wage shift. I used to work at 7-Eleven during COVID, so to give you some imagery, imagine fending off crack fiends one night, and the next you're just chilling next to Dana White. So I've definitely seen both ends of the spectrum, from a net worth of 0 to hundreds of millions of dollars. Oh, and I also forgot to mention, I work as a resident assistant at my school, and one of my residents literally has a Urus. If you don't know what that is, it's worth $250,000. So after several years of living with both sides, I've learned so much about the differences in mentality between the rich and poor. And when it comes to your self-development journey, the first and most important step is your mindset. It's absolutely essential that you get your mindset down before entering any of the other stages of self-development. Because if you don't have your foundation correct, the rest of the house will crumble. The first and biggest thing I've noticed in the poor mindset is the fear of risk and change. Now, most people I know, and I'm willing to bet most of the people in the world, haven't left their hometown or their home state. And I know for a fact that most Americans haven't even left the country. You can go ahead and look that up. And that's so fascinating to me because all of our ancestors had to move around or adapt to survive. And if you're American, all of our ancestors came here by ship to a foreign land where there's no guarantee of survival. Our ancestors dealt with nothing but risk, but for some reason, most of America can't even get off of a couch, let alone a city or a state. How sad is that? The truth is, a lot of the times, the only thing that pushes us to change are dire circumstances. The real reason your ancestors left home is because there was probably war, famine, poverty, a real chance of death. But now that we live in comfort, we don't have that same desire to leave like the older generations did. The modern generations like Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, we have the fear of the unknown. Another characteristic of the poor mindset is impulsiveness and lack of discipline. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people I know watch this channel, so I can't use a bunch of personal examples, but I will say this. I know some people that spend thousands of dollars a month going out to eat when they know they can't afford it. I know some people that spent tens of thousands of dollars on a midlife crisis and continue to spend that much money because they're depressed. I also know people that spend thousands of dollars a month on designer clothing when they work minimum wage. Now, why do they do this? They do this because they're filling a void. And that void is the undeniable fact that they cannot escape the matrix. And in my opinion, that's the root cause of depression. The reality that no matter how hard you work, you'll be stuck in the rat race, spinning on that hamster wheel endlessly. And the way the poor cope with that is by spending impulsively. But on the flip end of that, which leads to my next characteristic of the poor, if you save too much money, that's also a bad thing. And this is what I call the scarcity mindset. The scarcity mindset leads you to believe that you need to save every dollar because it might be your last. But I don't know a single rich person that got there by saving compulsively. Again, you need to take risks. You need to invest in crypto, NFTs, a business, because you believe that the opportunities are abundant and endless. Now, to finish up the poor mindset, because it is depressing me, I want to talk about self-defeating thoughts. Now, those who have self-defeating thoughts are self-destructive, meaning they'll come up with any excuse under the sun as to why they can't be successful, why they can't be rich or financially free. And all of us know a person like this. They always come up with a reason of why they can't do something, instead of asking, how can I? But worst of all, these people that have these self-defeating thoughts are very negative. And if you've ever heard that quote, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend your time with, it is absolutely true. And if you spend your time around people that tell you your dreams are impossible, then they will be. But on a happier note, I want to talk to you about the rich mindset. And I'm sure that's why all of you are here right now. You didn't click on this video to learn how to be poor. So, what did I learn from the rich? First and foremost, they are risk seekers. Every rich person I know invests heavily in themselves, a business, real estate, stocks, crypto, NFTs, you name it. Think about the NFT millionaire that I interviewed a few months ago. His background is in poker and now he's heavy into NFTs. And he's a millionaire at 30. If you're thinking about your average, your typical millionaire who works a normal job, invests into a home that appreciates slowly over time, and finally becomes a millionaire at 65, then that's the path for you. But if you want to become a millionaire like the one I interviewed at 30, you're gonna have to take a bunch of risks. But, and that is a big but, there is one caveat. You need to understand risk management before you do any of the other things I mentioned. And that leads to my next characteristic of the rich, which is being calculated and understanding risk. Basically, don't put all of your eggs in one basket. Don't put all of your money in one NFT, hoping for it to moon so you can finally become rich. Don't put all of your money in a business, and if it fails, you're screwed. This will vary depending on your age, but for the most part, you need to have a safety net in case you fail. And let's face it, you probably will. In the beginning at least. A general rule of thumb is, ask yourself, if this investment goes to zero, will I still be okay? The number one rule of risk management is you need to live to fight another day. The last but most important trait of the rich mindset is persistence. Now, this is where most people fail. This is what truly separates the rich from the poor and the winners from the losers. Most people you'll meet will give up anything they try within the first 6 months. Now, why is that? It's because they rely on motivation. When you come up with your first business idea, you get a huge surge of dopamine and motivation. But when that runs out, you stop. Instead of relying on motivation, you need to rely on discipline. Honestly, you'll be surprised how far you can go if you simply do the same thing over and over again for years. That alone will separate you from the pack because, well, nobody's doing it. So now that we have an in-depth understanding of the rich and poor mindsets, how do we change our mentality? Well, what you need to do, and what's helped me, is you need to expose yourself to the rich lifestyle so that you know it's possible. It's like what they say, you need to be able to see it to believe it. You can try simple things like becoming a waiter at an expensive restaurant or reaching out to people you look up to on LinkedIn and connecting with them. But one thing that's helped me a ton is traveling. Now, if you look at my social media, you'll see that I've traveled to a bunch of places around the world. But my secret is, I've barely spent any of my own money for these trips. My first study abroad trip to Germany, that was all paid for through scholarships. And even recently, all of the trips that I've done have been paid for through an organization that I'm working with. Now, the reason why I think traveling is the best way to expand your horizons, more so than anything else that I've mentioned, is because one, all of the people that go on these trips with you are either extremely driven or they come from families that are extremely driven. And being around these types of people will rub off on you. Being around people that travel a lot will remind you that a life where you can travel and make a ton of money is possible and that it's doable. If there's one thing you take out of this video, it's that you need to leave your couch, you need to leave your home city, and get to find people that live the lives that you want to live. Forget the internet. You need to see these people with your own 2 eyes because you'll only believe it when you actually see it for yourself. If you've made it this far in the video, it tells me you're serious about your self-improvement journey. So I'm gonna take a moment to shamelessly plug my Discord community, which is honestly the best way to reach out to me. I have resources on crypto, NFTs, Web3, stocks, you name it. And I also have resources on productivity hacks that I personally use. As my videos have been getting more views, it's honestly been really cool to have people reach out to me and genuinely want to learn something. So with that being said, I look forward to connecting with you guys, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace out.